Welcome back to Plus or Minus, the Horological Debate Show about the best and worst of the watch world. I'm Thomas Hendricks.
And I'm Balazs Ferenczi.
This is episode, I don't know, who cares? You know the rules, my Hungarian homie. Start us off.
First one.
Yeah.
Best watch of 2024 so far.
So we have a little bit of time left in the year. We're still in Q4, but there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of good stuff, a lot of bad stuff.
Yeah.
The one that I would actually kind of want to buy, and I think is like a pretty good deal, is the Tissot PRX in forged carbon. Did you see that one?
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's
carbon
nice.
case, carbon dial.
Yeah.
On the black rubber strap.
Yeah.
40 millimeters. It has an upgraded movement as well, so you still get the Powermatic 80, but it's got a silicone hairspring and maybe one other shock resistant improvement or something like that. It's a good looking watch. I think it's a little more expensive at like right about a G or so, but considering all that you get and the good design, and now it's like this kind of stealthy black look, I think it looks more expensive than it is.
No, it's a cool watch. I like it. I like the PRX in general. I think it was a great release and really put Tissot back on the map, or more on the map.
Yeah. I mean, it's their best selling watch, like,
no, for
by
sure.
far.
For sure. No, the carbon is great. I like it. My favorite carbon before that was the Doxa Sub 300, the first one, like the limited edition that came out before they became regular production models. So that was cute, but this is super nice. I like the Tissot
Yeah,
PRX.
I mean, we'll see how much further they can squeeze the PRX lemon, so to speak.
that's
I mean, we're already doing gradient dials, which is like kind of where a lot of brands end things. And we're already doing forged carbon, which is like a little bit further down the line.
You know what next step is? Stone dials.
I'd be down with it.
Lazuli and all
I mean,
that.
stone dials are huge now.
They're huge. They're huge. No, I think it's, the problem is, or not the problem, but like the trick is when to stop pushing, right? Because at one point it just gets boring.
Yeah, it's like a TV show that's been on the air too long.
Exactly. It's like first 6 seasons were okay. 7, you could see the decline. Like 8 and 9 and 10, nobody watched.
Yeah, still doing strong now. So that's my answer.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one.
Tissot PRX and the murdered out forged carbon.
That's a good piece. Yeah, quite a lot of good watches this year, as you said. I really like the indies, the smaller ones, like the micro brands and the smaller independents. Nevada, Space Ones, Amida, so all of that funky stuff, I really like it. But I have to say, I'm going to go with the watch that I first saw when I last visited you guys. And then after New York, I spent a few days in Miami. Mm-hmm. And the watch was released that week. So I went to the design district and I checked it out, and that's the white Speedmaster Professional.
Okay.
I like that one. I think it's a cool release. It's something different. A friend of mine said his problem is that it doesn't look like a Speedmaster. Like it doesn't give him the Speedmaster vibe.
Okay.
But of course, it's not the first white Speedy, right? They had white gold with like silver dial. They had the Mitsukoshi.
Yeah, they've done some limited editions.
Yeah.
This is the first like kind of standard issue white one.
Right, exactly. So that's like regular production Speedmaster. But I think because it's not a Speedmaster, or it doesn't feel like a Speedmaster to some, I think that's the beauty of it. That it's just a really cool watch that when you look at it, it looks familiar, but it's also different. There's like a twist, and quite a big twist when it comes to dial colors. It's not a new bracelet.
I mean, I think you could argue that it's a different color dial. Like Rolex does that all the time. And we're like, all right, big whoop, you know, you went from like blue to green or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's more than that. You're saying like in the metal. Once you see, I mean, it's kind of a white lacquer as well. So it's not just
it's a bit shiny. Yeah. I didn't like it in the beginning. It kind of looked like enamel or kind of lacquered or plasticky, if you will. But the more you wear it, the more you like it, and especially in like sunshine, like when you're in Miami, of course, or during the summer, it's the perfect watch, I think. It's a really cool release. It's one of my favorite releases this year.
I think a lot of times dial change just feels like you went on Microsoft Paint and just like color selected and picked up something else from the rainbow. But yeah, it's a little more to it than that.
And a lot of brands do that.
Up next, best big watch. We're talking 42 plus. Not my territory. But
I used to like big watches, not super big watches, but like 42 or something like that. I think everybody would think of a Panerai. Mm-hmm. I don't like Panerais too much. If I could cheat, I would say Speedy because it's 42.
You can go like dark side of the moon. You can go bit Speedy.
No, I don't like those. I like professionals. I don't like the automatics. I don't like the dark side and the gray side and the white side and the whatever side.
You're also like, oh, you won't guess it, but I'm going to say a Speedmaster. You're wearing a Speedmaster. Your answer for question number 1 was Speedmaster.
Yeah.
Your answer for question number 2 is you're trying to make it a Speedmaster.
No. It's actually trying. Yeah, well, I don't want to make.
How much are they paying you?
I wish. No, when it comes to like 42 plus, it's not something that you see a lot these days. You see some, but I'm very happy that the industry slowly realized that it's time to shrink sizes and go to like 40 140, maybe below 40, like 38, 39. So
what's your answer?
So not a lot. Yeah, it's not a lot of them. Well, I really like the, and this is going to be something that I mentioned earlier, the new Amida, which is a re-edition of a vintage.
Okay, I did not expect you to say
driver, yeah, and that's a maybe it's not even 42, but it's close to that, and it's a very quite big watch and quite thick one because it's automatic, not manual wind like the vintage one was. But it's a cool, different, relatively affordable watch. Definitely more affordable than a Speedmaster. It's really cool, right? Because it's the movement is flat, and then you have this prism that kind of projects the flat display on, and then it's a driver, so you don't look at a time like this, you look at it like that. So that would be like as a
not top down, but kind of head on.
Kind of from the side, yeah. So that would be my pick.
I'm going to go more mainstream. You mentioned it already, but when I think of like a big watch, I think of a watch that really only works in that size. You know, so there are some bigger ones like IWC comes to mind, but it's like there's no reason why they can't do that in like a 38 millimeter and have it still work.
Yeah.
What like I think is a big watch and needs to be a big watch, and that's like really part of the spirit of it, is Panerai, of course. Yeah. A lot of Radiometer fans out there, I would say the Luminor is the like real big one. You know, you think about I always come back to like Ralph Lauren. He really collected two things, like Cartiers for when he was in town and Panerais for when he was in the country, and he would wear him over a jacket. He's a small guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be my answer: is big, bold Panerai, probably Luminor, so you have that extra chunk with the crown guard.
So do you think Panerai needs to come back? Because I think they've been out a bit. I know they've been doing stuff, but they're not as popular as they used to be.
I mean, that's more up to consumer taste than anything. They're still making watches. They still have a target market and everything like that. I think it's just they're kind of put their line down in the sand as far as what they're about, and then consumer trends will kind of come and go.
Best rose gold watch?
Rose gold, I would go something that like feels like it should be a rose gold watch, where it's not just a color change, but it kind of like has a little bit more to it than that, where you bring in, you know, the strap or the bracelet, you change the dial up a little bit. You know, I have two answers here. I would go either Aquanaut, I think is a really good one on the chocolate.
You shouldn't say Aquanaut.
Okay, I'm going to go in that case with a root beer, preferably full rose gold,
nice.
Because then you get the bezel that, like, you know, they specifically chose it for that kind of color scheme. You know, obviously the root beer hasn't always been rose gold. It just adds to the whole persona of the watch. You get the bracelet in there for the full like rose gold effect. It's not my preferred metal, let's say, but if I were to be forced to buy a rose gold watch, I would go, full on peachy root beer.
Root beer is nice. But yeah, the thing is, when I read the question, the first thing that rose gold comes to mind is the Aquanaut. No, it's not true. If I had to choose between the Nautilus and the Aquanaut, I'd probably go Aquanaut over the Nautilus, because I like that it's a bit more sporty, it's a bit more, you know, casual.
And it's also a strap versus a bracelet.
Right. And I really love the rose gold with the rubber. I think that just looks really, really good.
It's a nice high-low too, because rose gold, it's like, it can be a lot at a certain point.
Yeah, which it is, but...
Yeah. I mean, I'm leaning into it, of course, with the root beer.
Yeah.
And I think if you were to go for the Nautilus, a rose gold on a rubber strap, it's a little more dialed back.
It's very cool. I really like the...
Tom Holland's got one. He looks great in it.
Yeah, and I think I believe like a bunch of like soccer players and basketball players, they really dig this. I guess because it's not a cheap watch, but again, with the rubber, it's kind of a sporty look. And it's so funny that you mentioned the root beer and I mentioned the Aquanaut, because actually I think the root beer is something that would fit me better, and the Aquanaut would fit you better.
Well, I didn't want to take your answer.
Aww.
But hey, we met in the middle.
Yeah. No, it's cool. Both of them are cool. But my pick is cooler.
Best Rolex bracelet.
I have to go vintage.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I really hope you don't take my answer, because
I have to go vintage.
Going vintage as well.
And I'm so sorry, because I'm not going to do the reference numbers, because I need to look them up. I don't know. I would go with the like the late 60s until early 70s riveted oyster bracelets. Is that your answer?
No.
No. Okay,
maybe
good.
it's close. I have multiple answers. As always.
So I really like the Jubilee, the folded Jubilee as well, like the vintage Jubilee.
Because you have one.
Because I have one. Yeah, I have
on
one
the 1675
GMT, right? And then on the
which is really comfortable, by the way.
It's a super nice bracelet. And the cool thing about the Jubilee and the oyster is that it completely changes the watch, the look and feel of the watch on the wrist.
Yeah,
completely. And so I like that, of course. I like the folded oyster, which is the one that came after the riveted ones, right? But I really like the riveted, like the late, I think it's late 60s, very, very early, like 70, 71 maybe. when they stopped doing it, and those are really cool. You know, because you look at like old, like Speedmaster bracelets, for example, a 1039, the flat link. It's a very wobbly, very kind of light bracelet, and the Oyster is as well light, but it's not as flimsy. It's not as ratchety.
I mean, the Oyster especially has gotten denser over time
Yeah.
as well. You compare like a 60s Oyster with like a 2024 Oyster, and it's like the weight difference is immense.
Yes, but I really like actually the new Jubilees as well. Yesterday I tried it on the new GMT, the GMT, the Pepsi, with a friend, and I really like the new Jubilees as well. Top is the riveted, then folded Jubilee, maybe then new Jubilee.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you could definitely make an argument for the new ones. They have the glide lock system built into the Oyster class. They have so many patented names, of course, but it's, I mean, yeah, they're getting better and better. All right, so you're saying riveted Oyster.
Yes.
I think there's a
late
reason.
60s.
Yeah, I think there's a reason why we see it coming back with like the Black Bay 58, for example.
Yes.
Not a true rivet, of course.
Perfect example. Yeah, perfect
But yeah,
example.
you know, it's still
It's
in
the
style,
look.
it's still popular.
Yeah.
I mean, your answer is kind of close to mine, so I'm going to switch it up. I was going to say stretch rivet Oyster.
Well, those are also nice.
Yeah.
Those are very,
So
very
you
nice.
see them sometimes on like 1016s.
67.5s.
Yeah, you see them on the 9038 or 9083. So it's like the UFO style one. It's like a very 1950s integrated bracelet with a stretch.
And the 1016 is an Explorer, for those of you.
Yeah, of course. So a very interesting one. I mean, they're still in good shape. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you talk about bracelet stretch, you see Jubilees just like kind of flop over. Like even the stretch rivet ones are like kind of hanging on. You wouldn't need a glide lock clasp anymore because it's the stretchiness is already built in. So as you kind of go in from the air conditioning to the heat from outside, it's like it would move with you. It looks good. You have the extra details of the rivets on there. Because you said something kind of close to that, I'm going to go Oyster Quartz.
Oh, yeah, that's also nice.
Yeah, it's the least Rolex bracelets.
But you could argue that it's not a bracelet because it's an integrated bracelet watch, so you could not take the bracelet off and
But
put
bracelet
it
is
on
in the name integrated bracelet,
Yeah,
so we're
but
talking
you know
about
what
the
I mean?
bracelet.
Like the Oyster, you can take it off and put it on another watch. This one you can't. But as a bracelet design and how it feels, I had an Oyster Quartz. I think it's up there.
And you have a couple styles. You know, there's like an Oyster style Oyster Quartz bracelet. There's a Jubilee style Oyster Quartz bracelet. I think there's a third one in there as well. But yeah, they're cool. I think it like leans into the time period.
Yeah.
And it's not something you see every day.
Oyster Quartz was produced for a long period of time, so they probably had a couple of designs.
70s, 80s, right?
No, they all the way, I think, up to the early 2000s. On a side note, Oyster Quartzes, I think, are sleepers because you can still get them cheap-ish.
Yeah. Best watch film collaboration. Watch in a movie. Product placement, let's say.
Okay, well, James Bond, obviously, what everybody would say.
And you're allowed to say it.
And
I mean, that's probably the best.
And but probably not James Bond. After that, and I don't necessarily like the movie, but I think that's pretty iconic, is Le Mans, Steve McQueen Le Mans with the Monaco, the Hoyer Monaco.
Damn, yeah, that was my answer.
Oh, see, great minds think alike, people.
Okay, I don't really have a backup answer, so we're just gonna double up on this one. Steve McQueen.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like.
Have you watched the movie?
No.
So boring. But yeah, the movie's not necessarily good in my opinion, but the watch is just iconic.
Yeah, Kenya Cool. I think it was like a big turning point for the Monaco, of course.
Yeah.
He was great in Bullet as well, and you have the Benris Bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of like the deeper cut James Bond, let's say.
No, for sure. And a 5512 that he had.
I mean, he was a
55-13.
megastar, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Tag Heuer kind of milked the cow enough, and then beyond. But I think that's a really iconic combination. And of course, nowadays it's something like the Hamilton in Nolan movies.
Hamilton's and everyone, yeah. But.
My turn. That's good. Best Omega Seamaster.
I've never like really considered
All of them?
buying a Seamaster. I mean,
All
they're all consistently good. A few ones that are like maybe not great, like Albatross.
Oh, I love the
era.
Albatross. Funnily enough, I had one. I sold it because the digital part didn't work. But now I have a few on my watch list. It's just so expensive.
You can say that if you want to.
No, I don't. But I love them.
Okay. My answer, Baby Ploprof. I think it's the 120, Seamaster 120.
I don't know, but yeah, I know what you mean.
There's integrated bracelet ones. There's ones like on mesh. Beautiful giant sword hands with orange minute hand and everything, a great bezel, and it like integrates to the case really well. And
A rugged 70s diver.
yeah, I think they're pretty wearable as well. You know, which is not the first thing you think of when you think of Ploprof. Yeah, I would go with that. I've considered them a couple times. The only problem is for vintage ones.
Too big?
I mean, well, yeah, that too. But the hands are so wide, and there's a lot of loom that the loom just cracks and falls out, basically. So it's you'll see a lot of them with like redone hands, or you'll see where the hands are just kind
Service hands or whatever.
yeah, or the hands are just original, but they're
just-
falling
yeah.
apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you have to be a little bit more careful with it, and it's more of a display piece than like a true beat it up kind of Seamaster.
So I really like, of course, Omegas and Speedmasters, Seamasters and Speedmasters. So I have three answers.
All 40 and slip.
I have three answers for you. The first one from the early 50s, when they launched the Seamaster as a line.
Yeah.
Like those early ones are really, really cool with the hammer automatic movements.
Yeah, because it started in 48, so it's like in that first phase.
Yeah, it's like late 40s, early 50s. I like those very, very much, and they're relatively affordable. The second one that I really like is the 1957 Seamaster 300. So the first sports one with the Bakelite bezel.
I should have said that.
Yeah, that's a really sweet one with the broad arrow hands. But my favorite also comes from your era, funnily enough, from the 70s, and that's the Seamaster Chrono Stop. And the one with the internal rotating bezel. So it's like a 60 seconds chronograph, right? You have a pusher, and then the hand is obviously at 12, and it just goes around 60 seconds. And it also has, you had the non-internal bezel versions, I think even the Geneves, they had the Geneve chrono stops. And then you also had the Geneve chrono stop driver, which was, you know.
Yeah.
And then
90-degree take.
Exactly. And then you had the Seamaster chrono stops with the internal bezels, and then you had one called the Roulette, which had like black and red and white scales, and that's my favorite.
That's your final answer?
That's my final answer. Seamaster chrono stop from the 70s.
I knew you would go deep cut, and that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Best asymmetrical watch.
Okay. Ooh, this is easy.
Go for it. If you take my answer, I have a backup.
No. I won't. It's not one single watch. It's the watches that were produced for the Brits, the military watches. They had this asymmetric case where they kind of have this cushion case, but on the right side where the pushers are a bit thicker. I think, I'm not sure if it was CVC or Lemania or Hamilton, probably Hamilton, but I think a couple of brands did that.
CWC, I know, did that.
CWC, and I think even Hamilton did that, and that was just, made for the British Ministry of Defense. I think those are super cool pieces. Of course, military provenance, great size. It's a cushion-shaped case, so kind of boring 70s design, but in an asymmetrical execution, which is way better. Mechanical, so no quartz.
I would go Rolex King Midas comes to mind.
Oh, nice, yeah.
So a gented design worn famously by Elvis. And the bracelet is also asymmetrical, so it like really kind of juts out to one side and then comes back.
Yeah.
That would, I think, overall be my favorite, like in white gold, if I really had. Yellow is, of course, the classic, but I think white is a little bit more understated. And I would give an honorable mention to the Seikos designed by Giorgetto Giugiaro.
Oh, yeah.
You know, with the big...
aliens.
Yeah, the aliens.
Yeah.
He has some ones that are a little bit more askew kind of thing. He did a handful of them. Obviously, the big one is, the Ripley, which has the big, like vertical pushers. Yeah. Ooh, Ploprof would have been a great one too, now that I...
Also.
Speaking of pushers and asymmetrical cases.
Or a sleeper, a very early GPS Casio, where you had like, the watch was in the middle, but they had to push it to the right side because there's a huge GPS module on the left side. Like, this is, I think, late 90s or early 2000s. Very cool.
Deep cut.
Best strap monster. Wait, what is a strap monster? Let's just...
A strap monster is a watch that looks good on a bracelet, it looks good on a NATO, it looks good on a rubber strap, it looks good on a leather strap, suede, Perlon, whatever.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah, a jack of all trades. So there's some watches that like really need to be on a bracelet or like can't really work on a rubber strap. Yeah. Or some that would just kind of look off on a suede, for example. Divers on leather straps, kind of like,
A G-Shock on a suede, that's nice.
That would be, on a G-Shock on like a black alligator, it could be kind of funny.
It's like a Lange one on a rubber.
I would do that though.
I know you would.
I'm that kind of weird.
You've done, not this time, but you've done things.
My answer, it's Flora 1. You have to go a little bit more neutral, of course, which I think aids to the strap monsterness of it all, the strap monstrosity. On an Oyster bracelet looks good. On a Jubilee bracelet, the Explorer looks good.
Yeah.
Put it on a rubber? Sure, why not? I mean, that looks good. NATO, for sure.
Yeah.
Leather, I think it's the dressiest of the Rolex sport watches.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. Actually, yeah. I never thought about it because I always or mostly see the Explorers on bracelets. I only see them on straps.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good answer.
So you're going Speedmaster, but why?
So I will go Speedmaster, and the reason I used to do this article series on Fratello called Watch Strap Review. So I would review every time it would be a different strap maker, preferably from a different country. So I don't know, I think I reviewed like 20, maybe 30 countries, like really everywhere. And so they would send me a bunch of straps, different ones, different, rubbers and leathers and stuff. I had two models. One was a Speedy, another one was a 1675. Because funnily enough, despite the colors, like the steel case, black dial, red and blue, the 1675 also works with a lot of straps.
I believe it.
But for whatever reason, the Speedmaster is really the black one, obviously. It's just super easy to pair with anything. Yeah, it has nothing to do with my preference for Speedmasters or Omega. Of course, there is that, and I had one in the collection, so I could use it. But I used vintage watches. I used vintage like King Seikos and Grand Seikos. They were nice. They were okay. But the Speedies are like really on NATOs, on nylon NATOs, on leather NATOs, on leather straps, rubber-ish straps. So they work with a lot of stuff. And then you can buy a Speedmaster, it always comes with like, if you buy it on a bracelet, it always comes with like 2 extra straps. Why? Because it will work both of them.
Yeah,
So.
it's such a bread and butter watch that it's just so versatile. Last question. You gonna miss me after this?
No.
No, not even a little bit? It's like professional wrestling, where they actually get along behind the scenes.
It's like that, yeah.
I'm very excited to hear your answer for this, Balazs. I want to ask you about the most underrated chronograph. And you sure as hell can't say Speedmaster for this one.
Speedmaster.
No.
The most underrated chronograph. Nothing comes to mind like that, so let me think. I think is it 2000s or 2010s IWC Fliegers?
Okay. Why?
Because I think that when you think of IWC, when you use the IWC hashtag on Instagram, you don't really see a lot of those. You see a lot of other models. You see engineers, you see big pilots, you may see some vintage stuff. Mind you, IWC never really made vintage chronographs. I think that's not their wheelhouse in a way. Or is it? It's definitely a good-looking watch.
So you're saying it's part of the underrated part is because they're not necessarily known for that.
Yeah, I think so. And you don't really see it a lot. But I think when you see the
now they're known. I mean, Top Guns certainly get a lot of attention.
Yeah, sure, but the new ones.
That's a recent thing.
Absolutely. But when I think of IWC, I don't think of chronographs because there's not as many as other stuff that they do.
Yeah, I would say Ingenieur or like a perpetual calendar.
Yeah, or like big pilots, or like a Marks, like one of the military watches, or even, of course, the Da Vinci's, which is a completely different story. So these, like as I said, I think it's early 2010s or late 2000 Fliegers. They're really cool.
Yeah, they're classic. They have like the military thing. They're not overdone. Let's say it's a little understated.
Yeah, I like those.
Nice.
The size is smaller. I like them.
I'm gonna go Zenith El Primero Black Shadow, I think it's called. It's the black titanium one on a strap. It's 37 millimeters. It's very light, of course. Very wearable for a number of size risks. And you get all of the El Primero heritage in there. So there are plenty of other like really good titanium chronographs that have come out recently. The Laureato titanium chronograph, I think, is a really sleeper hit. They did a Aston Martin one as well. GP Aston Martin, which is really cool. But it's that's not necessarily like based in anything. It's just they wanted to make a Laureato to kind of fit in with the integrated bracelet theme, so they did. And then they made a chronograph version, which I think works, but it's not the deepest well. So I would go, with the El Primero, you have arguably the world's first automatic chronograph movement. You have the story of Charles Vermeau, who saved it, in the middle of the night from being extinct, basically from Zenith wiping out the El Primero movement. So you have all of that heritage, and then in kind of an ultra-modern stealth bomber package. And I've tried one on before, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Zenith, you cannot go wrong with their chronographs. Vintage or new, they're just, as you said, they're arguably the first company to produce an automatic chronograph movement. Or
cool
at
to
least
see the high beat movement in there as well, and you get all of the advantages of an automatic movement. So.
But yeah, Primero is really a classic, and it doesn't matter how it looks. Even like the late '90s Primeros, they're super cool.
Yeah, and it's a watch that you don't see that often, but the people that own it really love it. I think it also speaks to the fact that they don't trade around a lot. It's, as soon as someone gets one, they're like, all right, this is permanently in the collection.
Yeah. No, it's a good pick. I like it.
There we go.
Yeah. And that's that.
And that's that.
No more cards.
And that's it for Plus or Minus, the Horological Debate Show about the best and worst of the watch world. I want to commend my co-host Balazs Ferenczi for only mentioning the Speedmaster half the time.
You're welcome. See you next time.